Hey, good morning, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast, where when I have to play producer on the road, we have to play the theme song from a previous episode off of my iPhone into the microphone.
I like how you MacGyvered that thing. That was good.
Yeah,
Good.
because you know what you have to do when the situation doesn't lend itself to your success? Rise above. Rise above. Yeah, I got a Marjorie Taylor Greene that thing and rise above and quit and storm out. We'll get to that in a minute. Hey, Rob, normally we will chit chat about the weather and I get to tell you how great it is in Minneapolis. But today I'm in Good Force One, our vehicle of faith, hope, love, supporting democracy for all, which is parked just outside of Marco Island, as you are squirreled away just outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I'm looking out at palm trees and big bright skies.
Beautiful.
You know.
How is the location? I know it's parked in a new location compared to where it's been previously.
A new secret location, yes, and it is lovely and something you should behold and not just be told.
Yeah.
Good, I did that.
Well, I hope to do that, and I very much liked the old location where I would sit next to the I don't know, the inlet, not a river. What was that? Canal? What was that thing?
Canal, causeway, maybe? I don't know. Ran out to the Gulf.
Some kind of body of flowing water, and smoke a cigar and enjoy myself. Encountered there an owl and a couple of raccoons. So,
Well,
wildlife
as the Ryerson, ethos and vibe is wanting to put out, there are rodents climbing around you. Well, I guess a raccoon and a possum are not rodents, but they feel like rodents to me. So how's the weather and what's the update on
like a flying rodent?
And what's the update on the possums? Give us the quick weather recap.
Weather is turning cold and rainy, and feels like we are in heavy duty fall time. But Calvin comes home tomorrow for Thanksgiving break, and looking forward to that. So he'll bring the sunshine.
At what point does an adult stop referring to coming home for Thanksgiving as break, like school? He's post school? Is it now just coming home for the holidays?
Post school. Yeah, he's just coming home for the holidays. I refer to it as break.
Yeah, we did that for a long time too, like treating our kids, once they reached adulthood, like it was on school break, and they're like, not on break.
Like I have,
gets
like,
counted against me.
Yeah,
it gets counted against me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, possum update is there have been no possum sightings.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure there's still some kind of creature in my soffit, and I don't know if it's baby possums. I don't know if it's Perry or Phil, and maybe I had a friend suggest that maybe I was incorrect in naming Phil, and Phil should in fact be named Phyllis. And who knows? I don't know. But there's strange sounds that you hear, and
there's
the cats
babies.
Stare at the soffits.
There's babies. I see what you're saying, because you sealed it off.
Well, I thought I sealed it off, but something's been working to get in. It's a real quandary. It's a predicament over here. It really is it's a predicament.
Producer John, who's here, said 2.5 months for a possum with their parents, so they could be squirreled away up there for 2.5 months being cared for. It's just ridiculous. Hey, I also let's do a quick campaign update.
Yeah.
Like
in
the West Wing when they cut the tie off of President Bartlett.
Yeah, that's right.
Like how last minute on your way there,
when I arrived, I took a second tie with me because I was just not sure which one I was feeling, and when I arrived in the parking lot, I switched ties.
Wow. Okay. And
Yeah,
in
that last
retrospect,
minute.
looking back, seeing the footage, seeing the
Oh,
tie,
great, great
how'd you
choice,
feel?
great
Great,
choice.
great choice.
Yeah, I'll tell
Okay.
you my one big. Well, I'll tell you my one big regret
Okay. Love to hear this.
is that no is that the mic the lavalier mic should have been higher. It was um a lot of little scratchy noise from from
Oh,
gesticulating and moving around, and the lav mic should have been higher. So
well, I'm sorry for
that
your loss.
one big regret. Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
But I'll tell you this: I got an email, I got a text from my digital strategist who is
okay.
I think a Gen Zer. Um,
Okay.
I don't think millennial. I don't know. Uh, but
Okay.
referred to you said I came off said the interview was fantastic. Said I came off as intelligent and charming. So there you go.
Charming.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you got to start pulling that stuff out and like where they do movie quotes, what people say about it, and put up like intelligent, charming.
Charming.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quick on his
Though I'll tell you this, man, and
virtual
Doug,
feet.
I mean I'm sure you've experienced this at times, and I wrote a book about my last political campaign, wrote a whole chapter called "Don't Read the Comments," and I need to revisit that chapter to remind myself not to read the comments, because holy moly, the folks on the news channel's Facebook page,
Okay,
wow, wow, and it's a good reminder for all of us, and I think you know.
I might head over there right now while you finish this story. I might just
I
if
mean,
I.
the different like there's those who are like because they decided to put like you know Ryerson switches parties to
Switches
run against
parties.
Womack,
Right.
former Republic. They made that, which really wasn't the point of the interview, but they made that the thing because I used to be
Mm-hmm.
a Republican, like many people have been, um, and uh, and so the comments are either he's a rhino or don't trust someone who used to be a Republican. You
Oh,
know,
right.
it's
You're either not
just
legitimately ever a Republican, or if you were so Republican that you would
yeah,
have thought it was okay to be a Republican, you aren't trustworthy as a Democrat. Yeah.
yeah. Which just it, it- not helpful, folks. You know, but it's just a good reminder that you can you don't know who someone is from
Yes.
a headline. And we do this where like you know a Supreme Court justice gets named, a nominee for the Supreme Court gets named, and within 10 minutes we're all experts on this person who we had never heard of 10
Yeah.
minutes previously.
Yeah.
Like we all need to just pump the brakes a little bit, practice some suspended judgment, do our own research,
Hmm.
and and don't read the comments.
Well, you have your digital strategist read the comments, and then just get a Trump-like servitude attitude, and just send you
Yeah,
only the great comments and screenshots. Then you
yeah,
feel.
none of them said charming. So
Hey, last week we went through Marjorie Taylor Greene's long interview of her taking down Trump, and since then she has announced retiring from Congress and
mhm.
not put her constituents through an embattled fight.
Yeah,
Which I don't know how much of this we'll talk about, but I heard her comments about that, and I thought, a rhetorical the use of rhetoric about how bad you are and how someone shouldn't vote for you and they should vote for your other Republican opponent. That's not actual harm on people. You're not actually putting your people through a difficult thing. It's not like a hurricane came and blew their trees down and knocked their cars over and flooded their houses. it's just a president saying bad things about you. I thought that was the weakest point. But I did think her saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire because I don't want to be part of this nonsense." Did you hear her speech? Did you hear her?
I did not. I did not.
The best part of it was she said, "Look, because here's what's going to." I'll paraphrase, but this is only a slight paraphrase. Pretty much what she said. I'm going to resign because here's what's going to happen. Democrats are going to win control of the House. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump will spend the next year attacking me. I will win, but we will lose control of the House. Democrats will then impeach Trump, and I will have to come to the defense of a man who spent time attacking me and doesn't want, isn't putting America first in all those ways. And that's unserious and ridiculous. And I'm not going to do it. That was her. And something about I have too much self-respect and all the rest of it. So it was funny that she was slamming the door shut. We will end this relationship embittered. And that is that. And I think it's because she's running for president. That's what I think this whole kit and caboodle is about.
Yeah. So let's talk about this first. And this is, I'm always interested in the semantics of things. Did she retire or did she resign? And is there any significance in how we refer to it?
I think if you don't run for re-election and you let somebody else run, you're retiring. I'm going to finish my term and not run again. I would call that retiring. I think if you stop in the middle of the commitment you made, if you said to your voters a year ago, please give me this job, and then they did, and then you said, I don't want to do it anymore. We don't call that not living up to your word. We don't call that not fulfilling your commitments. We don't call that being a quitter. We call that resigning. I think she. So I think we would resigning. That's what I would say. But I get your point that.
Yeah. So there is, there's been much conversation over the last few days about how Marjorie Taylor Greene could be the canary in the coal mine here in Congress, and what we're going to see is. And I have a side note. I want to talk about Lauren Boebert.
Okay.
What are we going to see? Just a whole bunch of Republican Congresspeople resigning and/or retiring.
I certainly think so. I think that whenever Congress is staring down an inevitable switch of party control, people resign. I don't know those numbers, but that you see the numbers going up and down. And in this environment, I think what Marjorie Taylor Greene in some ways was saying to the rest of her colleagues is, hey, you might want to get out of here too, because it's going to be an even less enjoyable job when you have no political power. You likely won't have any political power for a couple of terms, and you're going to have to defend this guy who's going to become increasingly unhinged. I bet we're going to start to see some high level retirements.
Yeah.
Hey,
Any predictions?
We did the math on Marjorie Taylor Greene's pension. Yabbits brings up in the chat that she. If she stays through January 5th, that hits her 5-year mark, which means it makes her eligible for her pensions. So we asked our robot assistants to tell us, John and I did driving down, what is the pension for a congressperson who fulfills the 5-year requirement and then starts receiving their pension. And for her, starting in 2036, at her age of retirement, age of access to her pension, she'll receive $10,000 to $12,000 a year. So, is she hanging around until then? Probably, because why not? Why not buy a new jet ski every year off of your pension?
And it's not
but
like,
it's not
yeah, and
like she
it's
didn't
not,
like get vested and now can just live high off the hog and all the
yeah,
rest of it. It's just it's a
right,
small
yeah, yeah,
pension. So
yep.
so a lot
So
of these people that have been in, look, because we saw this happen with Dean Phillips, we saw it happen with Katie Porter, we saw it happen with a bunch of other candidates that we work so closely. Got elected in 2018. And then didn't want to stay in and stepped away. So yeah, I think you're going to see some. I would imagine Lauren Boebert would want to get out of town. And if she does, you think back to our podcast 3 years ago when it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, McCarthy, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, Mike.
Mike?
Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin.
Thank you. Kevin McCarthy.
Mike's a football coach, former coach of the Packers and Cowboys.
He may have resigned too. I don't know. But like that whole gaggle, they're all going to be gone. Like this is the thing. There might be permanent control of Congress by certain parties, but boy, these characters are. It is like professional wrestling also in this way, like the many other ways it's like professional wrestling, that it's just hard on the body and the mind to be a professional wrestler, and you're having to rotate people out on a pretty high level. So the fact that whole 2018, 2020 gaggle are going to be gone is quite interesting.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that. However, can you say wrestling again?
Wrestling, professional wrestling.
When you say wrestling, is it 2 syllables or 3 syllables?
Wrestling, 3.
Huh.
You say wrestling? Like Riesling?
Yes, like Riesling.
Like Riesling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That's interesting. We need folks folks that are either watching or listening. How many syllables does wrestling have? And how do you pronounce? Is it wrestling or wrestling?
Yeah. How do you say traveling? I'm also a 3-syllable one on that one.
Traveling.
No, traveling. So you go 3.
Traveling. Yeah. Yeah.
But wrestling. Oh. Huh.
I don't know. Ask producer John there.
Well, John's from part of Missouri, and so
Okay.
yeah, I'll ask him. John, this now it's starting to feel like an old Rush Limbaugh shtick when he would talk to the person that nobody else would ever hear.
To Bo Snerdley. Bo Snerdley. He's our.
When you say professional wrestling, do you say it with 3 syllables, wrestling, like I just did, or do you say wrestling?
Yeah, wrestling.
Oh, wrestling. He's going to go ra and then do it in 2 syllables.
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. No W involved in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No E. There's not even an E. There's just a ra.
Yeah.
RASLIN. That funny little apostrophe. Wrestling.
Okay. Wait,
so
this is not a professional wrestling podcast.
Yeah, boy.
So we can probably, which maybe it should be. Frankly, maybe it should be. But I think there's the other conversations taking place. Is that apparently, there's been texts from Republican Congresspeople to reporters talking about how one of the casualties of all of this is likely going to be Mike Johnson's speakership. Are we going to see as all of this
how so?
unfolds,
What's the connection there?
I'm asking, are we going to see a motion to vacate as Republicans seem to see the writing on the wall, blame the speaker for his leadership that's taking them down this road? And will we see Republicans revolt against Mike Johnson before the end of 2026?
If I were Mike Johnson,
that seems far-fetched to me.
If I were Mike Johnson, I would be thinking, we're getting rid of the rabble-rousers that won't play along. Matt Gaetz took Kevin McCarthy down with him. Marjorie Taylor Greene's trying to take the President of the United States down with her. My guess is that he's going to be much happier to have whoever is elected, if it's a Republican, into Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat, than whoever she was. That they're going to get a mega strong Trump acolyte in there. So my guess is that he's going to think, and then they're going to go after AR-15 holding family Christmas photo guy, Congressman Massey.
Tom Massey.
They are going to go after Massey and try to get him out of that seat before election day. I bet. I mean, I can only imagine that with Trump's illegal activity of how he's going after his after people with the Justice Department, that they're already winding up fastballs to just come blazing at Massey and they're going to try to get him out.
Yeah.
But I don't think Mike Johnson. Well, two things. I don't think Mike Johnson is a cold-hearted strategist who knows what to do. And I don't think he wants to be Speaker of the House enough to fight for it. I think he's more of a John Boehner type. He's taken this on, and he's going to come out with a Boehner-like zippity-doo-dah when he's done being the Speaker. I don't think that guy... I think he spends more time trying to worry about making sure he lives up to his covenant marriage and that he and his son's pornography filters are active on his computer, as he's spoken about publicly, than he is about the ins and outs strategies of strong-arming people in the political world. I just don't see, because if Mike Johnson were that guy, all of this wouldn't have happened. Right? He wouldn't have allowed this petition to come forward. He wouldn't have allowed a shutdown. Without the shutdown, I think it's quite likely that this Epstein file thing certainly wouldn't have gone to 424-1 and then passed through the Senate on a unanimous vote and then voice vote, and then Trump signs it the same day. I think without the shutdown and all the attention that then became about this and why are we not back in, and all the progressives who were rightly so were talking about that congressperson from Arizona who was not being sworn in because it was about the Epstein file. Like, it allowed the Epstein files to come to the surface. Not unlike the
and it gave time to get to, so the mechanism that was used to bring it to a floor vote was called a discharge petition, which normally the Speaker of the House controls the legislative agenda. It's why it's a tremendously powerful position. And since Nancy Pelosi, there's this thing called the Pelosi rule and Republicans have employed it as well as Democrats, that essentially they say, hey, if we don't have the votes to win this vote with votes from within our party, we're not bringing it to the floor of the House for a vote, period. And so what happens is bipartisan legislation never comes to the floor of the House as a result of that. Now, a discharge petition is something that an individual congressperson can try to rally a simple majority of their colleagues to sign a discharge petition that says, hey, we want to vote on this. If that happens, then that comes to a floor vote regardless of what the Speaker thinks. And so, that's what took place here. And the shutdown gave Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who were the prime movers and shakers with this discharge petition, time to get to 218 signatures. The last of which was the congresswoman who, as soon as she was signed in, or as soon as she was sworn in, she signed the discharge petition. So without the shutdown, just kind of regular business, I'm not sure that they have had the opportunity to get to 218.
I think that's right. And it's only because the margin was so small between Democrats and Republicans that you could have 3 or 4 or 5 Republicans join all the Democrats and get this vote. If you had a 30-seat margin, you would have to get 30 or more Republicans to break. But because they needed literally 4, they were able to get them with a lot of work and a lot of strong arming. Now, one little note here. Yes, Nancy Pelosi did use that, and some people call it the Pelosi rule, but it was first invoked in the late 90s and then made popular in 2003 by Denny Hassert. And it's also referred to as the Hassert rule, that you won't move any legislation that can't be passed by only your party. It is terrible. It needs to go away.
Yeah,
Democrats need to run.
Whenever Denny Hassert is mentioned, he needs to be mentioned as former Republican Speaker of the House, convicted pedophile serving a life term in jail, Denny Hassert.
And I think he was a wrestling coach. Wrestle with that for a while. That maybe Donald Trump won't be the only high-ranking Republican who we can credibly refer to as a pedophile. Denny Hassert. There was a Hassert rule that, or the Pelosi rule, and it needs to change. Oh boy, I was going to make one other thought about.
It's really tremendous point.
Which in some ways, staying on that Denny Hassert is a convicted felon theme. It was the shutdown in 1994, 1996, that allowed the situation of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky to develop the way that it did. All of that went down during the shutdown when people weren't in the White House, they weren't around.
Yep.
All of Bill Clinton's bad behaviors were unchecked and unmarked.
Unpaid intern bringing pizza into the Oval Office.
Shutdowns create such destabilizing environments for a system that stays in check because of the pressure, and you take the pressure off and stuff like this happens. So just another reason why a government shutdown not only hurts the American people, hurts the government, hurts our trust in each other, but also creates context like this that tends to hurt parties where the president is in office. So Donald Trump will end up when the Epstein files are in their full enough form that millions more people will believe that Donald Trump was involved with Jeffrey Epstein at levels that they had previously never imagined. It'll be the shutdown context that he will be raging about in whatever failed social media system he's running after January 2029. And he will spend his dying days shaking his fist at stupid Mike Johnson, who allowed the shutdown to happen. Like, he's going to recast all of this, that none of this should have ever happened. And therefore, in that guy's language, he calls it a hoax. Because, as you care about definitions, the difference between a resignation and a resigning, or a resignation and retirement, Donald Trump doesn't care about the meaning of words. So he calls things a hoax when he says they shouldn't have happened. I think the Epstein report shouldn't be being talked about because it's a hoax. Like, that's not what that word means. And everybody else runs around and says, why is he calling it a hoax when there were real women harmed? And it's just, this is the surreal world we live in with this guy. But what's not a surreal world is that approval ratings are dismal, even among his the soft support that he had from the bro culture has really, really abandoned him, and it's never coming back. That Joe Rogan-y kind of podcast crowd are never coming back to this guy.
No,
and they're not going to go for whoever his acolyte is after he's done. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I was just he might have ruined them for politics, for here on out. That'll be like like a supplement they tried and passed on. I think, Doug, when you mentioned Donald Trump's approval ratings, tanking. I had Dave McDermott coming in with the Larry Norman lyrics. Love that, Dave. Thank you. Always love a Larry Norman reference. And so, you know, Donald Trump also has had a really bad week in his lawfare campaign
Yeah.
of retribution against his political enemies.
Yep. Yep.
So Donald Trump had ordered um, the people he blames most for his legal problems to face retribution. So James Comey was um, indicted, arrested, and trial had begun. Same thing with Letitia James, the
Yeah.
Attorney General of New York. Targeted because they uh, tried to hold Donald Trump accountable for his actions.
Crimes.
And
He committed crimes.
yeah, the crimes he committed, and so targeted them. He had a prosecutor that would not move forward with these cases because thought they had been thought they had some illegitimacy to them, and so Donald Trump had that Attorney General Pam Bondi had that federal prosecutor fired and replaced. And as it turns out, a federal judge ruled this week that this new federal prosecutor was put into office illegally, and therefore the case was thrown out. Now without prejudice, which means that it can be refiled. However, the statute of limitations has expired on James Comey and his alleged crimes. So I expect that there will be some a new attempt to engage in lawfare against these people, but really a stunning defeat for the Trump administration's attempt to and it shows, Doug, we have seen we used to talk during Trump's first administration. We had a little podcast called This Guy's Got to Go. And we talk about how Trump was cruel, corrupt, and incompetent.
Yeah. Yeah. Cruel, corrupt, and incompetent.
We haven't seen as much of the incompetence in this term. I mean, it not like we did the first term, I don't think. It hasn't just been on display like, holy cow, these people don't know what they're doing. Because frankly, they, in some ways they do know what they're doing because they've been around. Now, this seems like stunning incompetence. To have this case that was so important to Donald Trump personally, to have it thrown out basically on a technicality, is just stunning incompetence
across the board. And if you followed that case, and I have followed it from some commentators, nearly everything that Haba has put before the court has kicked back. Like, just literally such an incompetent lawyer because she wasn't a lawyer at this level, doesn't know what she's doing, uses the wrong words, has a typo in the title, doesn't realize that when you use all caps in Word documents, it doesn't spell check because it thinks you're using all kinds of things like this that are like would be at a very basic level of just getting a law advisor or a law assistant to do. Terrible. Missing dates, saying the wrong things, lying to the judge intentionally and unintentionally. Like, it's just been a complete unmitigated disaster. Where they're in trouble on the Comey thing is the only reason they rushed forward to replace a prosecutor and put in a prosecutor without following the rules was because, as you mentioned, the statute of limitations for 5 years was going to run out. So they had to get something filed. And they believe that because they filed something under the deadline, they can just keep bringing the case and the statute of limitations aren't going to be in effect. There's some phrase or word that's often used that gives people more time to do this. Here's the other thing, why they'll keep pressing the case. Because like with Harvard University, Columbia University, CBS, ABC, Donald Trump's tack is not to use the legal system for legal victory. It's to use the lawyer costs as punishment. And now he can use the Justice Department free of charge to bring cases against these people. And Letitia James, I don't know in her case if she has legal backing from the state of New York. But if she's being accused of a crime that she committed previous to that work, which is what they're saying about this mortgage that she had, and she said she wasn't going to release it, it's ridiculous. And then James Comey, they're trying to bankrupt them. So one of the big reasons you get into litigation ever, and everyone knows this tack, is you try to put such pressure on someone that defending themselves is not worth it financially. You might as well just settle, right? So this is what Donald Trump was doing with all of his lawsuits. This is why he files lawsuits. He tries to get people to settle because he doesn't pay his own lawyers going rate and all the rest of it. Now he's got so now if you take that tack and he decides he wants to use that against Congressman Massey, who he doesn't like, or against Marjorie Taylor Greene, or against Seth Meyers at NBC, who he's now going after. He's like, oh yeah, we don't care if we prevail in court. Guy doesn't care about setting precedent and having someone who did the crime to do the time. He's just like, how about if we run up $3 million in lawyers' fees? You think you got that in your bank account, James Comey? You think you can afford that? So what they're doing, and they use that phrase lawfare on the right because they suggest that that's what's been happening against Trump. So we're going to continue to see the President of the United States using the Justice Department and unfettered corruption to punish people, not because he wins the case, but because he causes pain to them by the costs. Yeah. And this is the worst kind of corruption, frankly, and it's the worst use. Yeah. And if somehow they could countersue the Justice Department, see, in private litigation, if I bring a lawsuit against you, Rob, for slandering me on my pronunciation of the word rustling, and I'm just going to run up your legal bills. You can win that case or get a court to say this is frivolous, and you can then come back to me for frivolous lawsuits. The system is set up to not allow people to do this unless your lawyer is the Justice Department and the federal government, which is why the government never wants a president to use the Justice Department and be able to say to a head of the Justice Department, convict this person, charge this person, go after this person, put pressure on this person. And that's what Trump is doing right out in public, not only with Comey and with Letitia James, but with a whole bunch of other people. Now it's a long list of other Congress people that put out a thing about, hey, if you're given an unlawful order, and now they're going after, Mark Kelly, and they want to try to bring him up on some kind of legal charges, in his military service. Yeah. So, but all of this again is not to win.
Exactly what I want to talk about. Yeah, I want to talk about this Mark Kelly situation. So if people don't know, there were 6 Congress members, I think 4 members of the House of Representatives, 2 senators, that put together a video, all of them veterans of the military or the intelligence agencies, put out a video telling troops that they do not have to follow an unlawful order from a superior. And the Congress people were Jason Crow, Maggie Goodlander, Chrissy Houlihan, former guest on this very podcast, and the very first ever candidate for Common Good, our friend Chris DeLuzio from Pittsburgh.
Chris from Pittsburgh.
Who, by the way, I sent an email to Chris from Pittsburgh and said, "Hey, want to come on a little podcast and talk about what it's like to have your life threatened by the President of the United States?" Haven't heard back, but hopefully, maybe,
Yeah, let's
Everybody
get 'em on.
cross your fingers and toes so we can get our friend Chris Deluzio on this podcast to talk about what it's like to be to have your life threatened by the president of the United States. So,
And let me interrupt you
all
for a
these
moment, Rob. If you can cross your toes, take a picture of it, post it, and brag about it, because that's still incredible. If you got toe flexibility where you can cross those suckers, keep it up.
Do you, Doug?
No,
You
Shelly
seem like
really
the kind of
wants me
person
to.
that
She wants me to move my toes independently,
Oh.
each one, and I can. If I try really hard right now, I can sort of get my top toe over my pointer finger toe, my thumb toe. But so I'm doing it right now because I'm not wearing shoes. I feel like I'm doing it, but when I look down, I'm like, no, that does not look like my toes are crossed. But it feels like it to me.
And listen, Mike Stavlin, just really looking forward to the text that's going to be coming about toe dexterity and just the conversation about toe dexterity in the middle of this.
If you have hip problems, you have knee problems. There's a lot of the podiatrist people will tell you it all starts with your toes and toe flexibility. So if you can move your toes independently, cross your toes, good for you. And if you can't, work on it. I'm giving advice I don't take, but I'm sort of Rob Ryerson on don't read the comments and then read the comments. Kind of.
Yep, exactly.
That's what we do around here. We're advice givers.
Yeah, these Congress people put out a video telling the military, "Hey, you don't have to follow unlawful orders." The pretext of the subtext of that is that as the U.S. military continues to be sent into American cities, used in a variety of ways that violate probably both the law and norms, there's a sense of like maybe there's going to be some military people, some service people who say, no, I'm not going to do this. And, conscientious objectors.
Yeah.
And so
has
been
interpreted... conscientious objectors, Rob, or people that are saying, I'm not actually a conscientious objector because I don't think this is a legal order. Like they're saying a different thing. They're not saying step away from your service if it violates your conscience. They're saying it's not a legal order. And they might also be referring, I don't know what's in the back of their head. I'd love to ask Chris from Pittsburgh. Maybe they're talking about firing weapons onto Venezuelan boats in international waters. Maybe they're talking about actions that could be happening in Ukraine or in Russia or in Venezuela. Maybe they're talking about actions that are going to happen in the West Bank. Like they're basically saying we have an unlawful president who is demonstrating at home and perhaps abroad, and they may even know things we don't know, and we need to start sounding the bell that, just to clarify, you have an order, you have to follow orders if it's a legal order. That was a big move.
How this has been interpreted or represented by the president and Republicans is that these 6 Democratic lawmakers told service members to defy the president, defy the commander in chief, which is not what they did. Which is not at all what they did. It is a complete misinterpretation. They did not say, hey, you can tell Donald Trump as commander-in-chief, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. What they said is, you can tell your commanding officers no if there is an unlawful order. Like, this is not just some blanket, get out of taking orders card given to our service people. This is a reminder of their oath and their duty.
Yes.
And it has been portrayed so differently. And now we're even to the point where the lawfare of Donald Trump has moved beyond the federal judicial branch, which provides some checks and balances on them, as we saw with the Comey and Letitia James case. And now there's talk of Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona, being court-martialed
because he's still in the military. Yeah, he's still under military commitment. Look, here's how it comes across Donald Trump's brain. Senators and congresspeople remind military members of the law. You don't have to follow an unlawful order from your commanding officer. Donald Trump says, well, I give unlawful orders all the time. They have to follow them because I tell them to. So he makes no distinction because he believes that they have to follow any order he gives them. I think his fundamental argument is he disagrees with the law. And when he pushes this and tries to if I were Mark Kelly, who's also considering running for president, I believe, I would say, can we fast track this court martial, please? Can we move it through JAG as expeditiously as humanly possible? Because I would love to have the federal government tell me what crime I've committed by reminding military members that they don't have to follow a law. They don't have to follow an unlawful order.
Do you trust a court-martial system in Pete Hegseth's Pentagon?
I do. Look, I am Pollyannish about this. I think my Pollyannishness has played out, being reasonable enough. The courts have caught and stopped the Trump administration so many times in this term and his previous term. We might believe that the Supreme Court, that a appeals court should have ruled differently, but the system holds. Bad lawyering is stopped by judges. That if we don't, and we don't have that, if rule of law doesn't work, then what are we fighting for and with? Like, to my mind, if that's not available to us, then it has already collapsed. If Pete Hegseth, as the civilian Secretary of War, can tell a court-martial, lawyers, and I don't call them judges, they call them whatever they call them when they're judges in that setting.
Magistrate?
Maybe a magistrate, maybe getting from the control booth.
Magistrate.
How many vowels are in magistrate? I would say 11. I think you could stretch it up. If we don't have that, if we don't have an independent court-martial system, like an independent judiciary, the Supreme Court has even stopped Trump. And I know that there's a better tale that many Republicans want to tell about a totally corrupt judicial system under Biden, and the Democrats want to tell of a totally corrupt judicial system under Trump. But I just think the facts don't bear that out. And if I were Mark Kelly, I would say, I mean, first of all, what's his other option? To wring his hands and be all worried? I think he'd be like, can you roll the tape? What did we all say? Very well vetted legal terminology, even though put together in a mashup fashion. So yeah, that's where I am on it. I'm totally comfortable. I think these people should make a federal case out of it whenever possible.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
No, I do think so, and I think I like your idea of Mark Kelly saying, "Hey, let's fast track this. Let's have it out. Let's do this in public. Let's bring in the television cameras. For this thing, and let's have because I think it will go well for him, much like it did Comey and Letitia James.
Yeah. Let's go to court. And what can Trump do? He can pardon people, but he can't punish people. He can unpunish his cohorts, But he can't punish. Hey, can I just comment on Don's thing here about are we? Don writes, are you going to be honest enough to go back to the Obama greenlighting the Russian hoax against Trump and the FBI weaponizing in that? The Gabbard released emails show it, or the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up. Yeah, Don, thank you for that. Don, I would love to talk for hours about the the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia and what's in the Mueller report. I would love to. Barack Obama did not greenlight anything the Justice Department did. And Investigator Mueller was appointed, say it with me, Rob, during Trump's administration. I would love to talk about this. It was the Trump administration that assigned a special prosecutor who concluded that the campaign colluded with Russia. The Tulsi Gabbard emails, which I'm very familiar with, do not show anything different on that. There's this whole revisioning thing that now here's what Republicans are doing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the quitter, said this the other day. She said, the whole Mueller report, we all now know that's been clear. That's a hoax. It's not. I hope, Don, you have looked at it or at least read the summary of each of the sections. I really hope, because it is still utterly disturbing.
Yeah.
And yes, I would love, Don, so much. I'll just put the comment up again. If we could, if honestly, if Representative Comer, if Speaker of the House Mike Johnson would please unleash a full investigation about Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, I, with you, Don, have been yelling for the better part of this year. Now that Republicans control the White House, they control the Justice Department, they control the Senate, and they control the House of Representatives. Let's get to the bottom of Hunter Biden's laptop. Where is it? Because we were told that it was being hidden by the FBI. So Kash Patel, where is the laptop? So absolutely, Don, I would love to talk about Mueller, and I would love to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Because the nutty thing here for all my Trump supporting friends is both of those things say the opposite of what you believe they say. When Biden was president and they were harking on about the laptop, tell me, Don, how many times on Fox News you heard about it? How many times have you heard about it since January 22nd, 2026 or 2025? How many times have you heard about it on Fox News? How many times have you heard about it in your email from Donald Trump or from any other Republican fundraiser? None. You know why? Because Kash Patel could release everything. This like fever dream of the laptop that's going to prove the $10 million that was taken from China and put into the bank accounts of Joe Biden. Why are we not hearing about it when this Congress can do everything it has to do and Donald Trump can declassify everything, and you've never heard about it again? End of soliloquy on Hunter Biden and Mueller. Hey, one more thing, Don, just to preempt, get your fingers maybe typing. When you're going to tell me that the FBI infiltrated the crowd on January 6th, 2021, who was the president when the Capitol building was attacked? Donald Trump. Why has the Justice Department's under Donald Trump appointed Mueller and apparently put FBI undercover agents to make Trump look bad when he was president? Or you can say Obama did Mueller and Biden put FBI agents to attack the U.S. Capitol. Both of those things happened in Trump's first administration.
Hey, Doug, how do you react to this headline? So, we talked earlier about this little news interview I did, picked up by Newsweek and then shared out by MSN. And this is just a reminder to everybody that maybe you need to think a bit more deeply than the headlines. Listen to this headline, Doug. Tell me if this sounds accurate to you. Republican switches party to Democrats amid concerns about affordability.
That's a great headline.
And is it accurate to my story?
It is. I mean, that is true. You were a former Republican. You switched now to filing, and
it's
amid.
That headline gives that.
Did you talk about your motivation for running for Congress, affordability?
I did.
You're just saying you're switching. Yeah. Okay. So, here's what Rob's getting at, friends, and I think this is a great place for us to end because I think it's emblematic of poorly written headlines and something more important. Rob's running for Congress in the same district for the same seat that he previously in 2018 ran in the primary for against the same opponent, Steve Womack. Rob tried to run in the primary as a progressive Republican against a conservative Republican, 2018. Mm-hmm. Filed in 2025 to run in 26, did co-host Rob Ryerson, to run as a Democrat against the same person. So to viewers of this show, to Rob, to his family, to the joy of his mother, Rob long ago switched his identity from Republican to Independent to Democrat. His identity. The paperwork filed had Rob Ryerson running as a Republican, now Rob Ryerson running as a Democrat. There's the switch, not on his personal identity, but in public record as a public candidate for a public office, which is the headline and news writers' obligation to tell the readers about, or the viewers. The personal transformation of Rob, or the public registering in a different party?
I understand what you're saying. The way this headline is written does not accurately share even what has been my public story. It gives the impression that I recently switched parties because of affordability.
Amid, not because. Amid, not because. Okay.
Amid is like in the midst of
midst of affordability. Yep.
It's just a reminder to everybody that, hey, maybe the headline doesn't tell the whole story or even tell the story accurately. And maybe
or it's telling a version of the story more accurately. Rob registered as a Democrat as a Republican in 2018 and registered as a Democrat.
Wow, this chair really leans. Look how far this chair leans back.
Oh yeah, you can get way back here. Hey, let's just do this. Let's do the podcast like this. I'm gonna do it like this. Rob ran for as a registered candidate as a Republican in 2018, and Rob is running now as a registered Democrat. He's running now
and
from one party to another.
I'm not a registered. I'm not a registered Democrat.
You're not even. You're
like 87%.
You're like your boy Bernie.
87% of voters in my, not just like my boy Bernie,
and 100% of people in this.
87% of voters in my district are registered without a political party.
Yeah,
and I am
but,
one of them.
Which again, I think is the point. When you run as a candidate, you've chosen to pick a political party to be associated with. That's one level of meaning. Your self-identity, whether Rob is or isn't a Democrat, is or isn't a Republican, is something that only one can hold for themselves. But your public alignment is not as a candidate on the Republican side, but a candidate on the Democratic side. That move, public move, not personal story, is what they're pointing out to. So when people listening to this podcast who've never voted for a Democrat before and vote for one on the first Tuesday in November of 2026, did that make them a Democrat, or did they vote for one? And your vote is your sort of public statement for this candidate. It's not everything of your personal story. It doesn't need to be everything of one's personal story. Now, it's harder for you because you're trying to craft a public narrative. But man, I think if I were in your district and I was a Republican who had real concerns about affordability, and a news story says maybe the solution to that is Democrats, that's a great headline. Now, is that what you want someone to, when they see Rob in the grocery store, to think, oh, you were a Republican until you found out that prices didn't go down under Trump and you switched 6 weeks ago? And you're like, no, that's not what it was actually a much longer story going on. But I did register to run just the other day, and the topics I talk about and the things that are important and the things that we know are pressuring the people in this beautiful third district is affordability. And so in that context, amidst all of that, I have now registered to be your standard bearer on the Democratic side. I don't know. I think, well, whether it's good for your campaign or not is a different question. But I think this is the real, and we do a lot of work with the news media. The real question is, what is the news story's obligation? And what if their obligation is to fulfill one set of demands, even if it means that some more specifically understood set of demands would be like, well, if you really dug into it, you would find out that so-and-so, such and such. I think it's instructive for us on, yes, that headlines are supposed to say things that 7 to 10 words say. They're not supposed to say things that 100 words say or 1,000 words say. But man, if every day I saw a headline in our work at Vote Common Good, Republican switches to run as a Democrat amid affordability concerns, that's great. You want everybody, you want 358 million people in America saying affordability concerns, run for, support the Democrat. I think that would be so. So not only do I think it's slightly bizarrely accurate, just as a technicality thing, it is amidst those concerns. It is a switch. It's also a great story.
And as you know, a person living their biography, you just wonder, like, oh, boy, I'm just not sure that's quite how it played out.
Yeah. Well, the thing you're experiencing so well, and a lot of us who've been in media experience or organizations that we should also let people in the public know, journalists are not your marketing department.
Yes.
Reporters are not
100%.
your PR company. Their job is not to make your point. So when you get frustrated watching the news or reading a news article and you say things like, why aren't, because I've said this and heard this for years, where people would say, hey, the way you as leaders and Christians and activists talk about Christianity and the government, like, why aren't you on the news shows? Why aren't you doing the things and being out in public? Why are they always covering those people, that thing that we all know is so real and so true? Well, it's not the reporter's job to figure out how to get our message out there. That's our job to figure out. That's why at Vote Common Good, we use media people and we use a PR company, and we're in contact with reporters all the time and doing backstories. And that's where if you fund Vote Common Good, that helps us with some of that work. It's really, really important that we advocate for our point and the reporters do the reporting. Their job is not to tell our story. That's our job, is to get out and tell our story. So if you're ever frustrated that your views are not being shared in the media, especially in what you'd consider legacy medias or trustworthy media, that's been around for a while. It's not the media's fault. It's not. It's your fault for not compelling the media to cover your story the way other people making their stories well known are compelling the media to cover their stories. So if you send us $50 of Vote Common Good, we will turn 48 of those dollars in the next 6 months into media outcomes. This is the season for that. We will be doing that heavily over the next 6 months, so that we can be part of these larger conversations and all the rest of it. I mean, look, what got Rob on the news and then got Rob in this headline, and Rob's was with his fancy tie, that you registered to run for office as a Democrat, and you're taking on Steve Womack, and you have a biography, and
Yeah.
And they said Republicans are becoming Democrats because of affordability. That's the greatest headline.
Oh boy!
Congratulations,
How
Rob.
long
On
you,
that, congratulations on that great
you
headline.
Thank you. Are you spending
No.
Thanksgiving in Good Force One?
No, I'll be home in the safe confines of Peacedale Studios tomorrow evening. Yeah.
Excellent.
Just getting the very important and vulnerable vehicle for our work in 2026 into a place where it won't freeze and break. As we know, Rob, we've been in this vehicle when it is frozen and when it is broken, and
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
good. So it's
Yeah.
like some of our old bones. It needs to sit in the pleasant
Sitting in a parking
confines.
lot in Iowa when it's 20 below, and stuff had frozen, and whew,
The engine froze at one point, like the gas, like the diesel froze.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, you can't have this. You can't have this. So that's why it's down here, and also because
excellent.
the Southern Office of the Faith, Hope, and Love Supporting Democracy for All movement. So, all right, are we done? Thanks to all the people in here.
we're done.
I can pick up some
absolutely.
cheap
Hey, and
viewers if
listen,
we want to.
cheap viewers on streamboo.com, remove the space, as always. Yabbits, Peggy, Tish asking what the Christian left is.
Oh, you must have found that there. It's a Facebook page and community that wants to advocate that there are Christians who hold to things on the left side of the political aisle and on the progressive side of culture and Christianity. And we are Vote Common Good as a organizational partner with Christian Left. So if you're watching it there, great. Also head over to our stuff at Vote Common Good, and you can follow all the Vote Common Good things and get a double stream of goodness, especially at
Thanks
at
to
the website.
Yabbits and Dave, Matthew, Alex, of course.
Oh,
Don
Beth.
coming in again.
Beth giving us a little tutorial on all the way from FDR right up through Reagan. Thank you, Beth.
Fantastic.
That's a podcast theme in and of itself right there. Yeah, so thanks, everybody. Thanks for being a part of this.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And cross those toes. Cross
Pants
your
box.
toes.